Welcome back to the podcast. And this is going to be a slightly different version than what I normally do. I'm going to just talk in a very candid way about what I've been up to in 2025 and what I'm going to be doing in 2026. And I'm going to give you a few tips and maybe a little bit of guidance as well about what you can potentially do with Substack in particular as 2025 comes to an end and 2026 looms on the horizon. This is for you if you're new to Substack, if you've really just started your journey on the platform. And it's for you as well if you've been on Substack for a while, if you've been on the platform for maybe a few months or years, and you want to think about the best ways you can start 2026 strong, and maybe draw 2025 to a close in a strong way as well. Um, Before we go any further, I want to remind you really quick to subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to the channel using the button below. And if you're listening to this podcast on Spotify or Apple or wherever it is you get your podcast, make sure to subscribe there as well. And also feel free to leave a review if you want to, if you've been enjoying the podcast for a while. So just want to throw that out there before we go any further. So something I think is always useful to do is to look back on the previous year and just reflect on how things have gone. Think about what worked and what didn't. Think about the content that you created that got the most engagement, and the ones that didn't get the most engagement at all. Think about what brought in new subscribers and new revenue. Think about the stuff that really popped off, to use that phrase, and again, the things that didn't work as well. Think about what was a win for you and what was a loss potentially in that time. Figure out what moves the needle and what was just kind of busy work and the stuff that maybe wasn't having as much of an impact as you maybe thought, or the impact waned as the year went on. Um, I know that's something I do every year. I try to spend a little bit of time, particularly between Christmas and New Year, during that period whenever everything gets quite quiet and kind of winds down. I like to think about what worked in the previous year that's just gone by and what didn't work. Um, so just a bit of context for me. I think things that did work for me, for instance, in 2025, just to maybe get your brain thinking about this as well. I did a lot more uh, stuff where I was getting my face in front of my audience and getting my voice in front of my audience as well, into their ears, so to speak. So I did a lot more live stuff on Substack. I did a lot more podcasting, a lot more YouTubing. And I do think that is important. I do think it's increasingly important in the age of AI to be visible, to get your face and your voice out there in front of your audience so they can see that you are in fact a real person, that you are actually who you say you are. I think it's the best way to build trust and to build authority and to really create that connection with your readers and your listeners and your subscribers in general. So I did a lot more live stuff, and it was really good fun. I really enjoyed chatting to people I chatted to, being guests on podcasts. I just did one last night, and it was awesome. I enjoyed having guests onto my podcast and having those conversations. I got to meet some amazing people who I've been admiring from afar, and I got to have just real candid conversations with them and ask them the questions I'd always wanted to ask them. So those kind of things really move the needle for me. I think in terms of building authority, in terms of building and developing, I guess, my personal brand. Um, so how did that go for you? What kind of stuff worked for you when you look back on the previous year? What kind of stuff really moved the needle? Because if stuff didn't move the needle, that's the stuff that going into 2026, you can definitely take a knife and chop off. You can cut the fat, so to speak. And I think really, if you can simplify your process as much as possible, it will make your whole journey as a creator, especially on Substack, a lot more fun. If you can approach your computer or your laptop or whatever it is each day, and really look forward to doing it. Really look forward to writing that article, or recording that podcast episode, or doing that Substack live. If that's the thing that kind of fills you with energy and fire and just lights you up, then you're going to stick with it for longer. If it feels like a chore, if it feels like something you have to do, that's probably a pretty good indicator that's not something you should continue doing. I know there's definitely value in sticking with things for a certain length of time. I always kind of say, I want to try doing something 100 times. And I've heard other people say that as well. Try doing something 100 times before you decide whether or not you're going to stop doing it. So I will, for instance, record at least 100 podcast episodes before I decide whether or not I'm going to keep doing it. I'm pretty sure I am because I really enjoy doing the podcast. I like to do a lot more than 100 episodes, but it's definitely something I want to stick with for the longer term. I think I want to keep trying YouTube videos. I've done more than 100 videos on YouTube. I want to keep going with that as long as I can. Um, a little bit of insight actually into what I'm doing. One thing I'm going to stop doing in 2026 is my weekly Saturday morning coffee roundup posts. So they'll move to monthly instead of weekly, purely because I don't think it's something that moves the needle for me enough. I do feel like at this point it's something that it's not a chore. I definitely enjoy still putting those roundups together. I love reading other people's pieces and putting links to them into the article. I love giving my readers a chance to come back to the things maybe that they missed during the week or during the few weeks before that. But I definitely don't think in terms of audience growth, in terms of revenue drivers, any of that kind of stuff, even personal brand building, I'm not sure those roundups move the needle in that way. So that is something that I'm giving you a bit of an insight into that I'm going to cut out or cut back on basically in 2026. So and I'd be ruthless about that as well because I love doing that. And I've done almost 100 of those roundups on a weekly basis. I've stuck with it for almost 2 full years. So it's a big thing to kind of step back from something you're used to doing and maybe replace it with something else or just leave that space vacant. But yeah, sometimes you do have to really make those hard decisions and be willing to cut back on things that maybe aren't making as much of a difference as you would like. So again, for you, going into 2026, what is not moving the needle? What is not increasing your revenue? What is not growing your audience that you're maybe doing on a weekly basis? And are those things that you can either develop and radically change your approach to, or are they things that you can just cut out entirely and maybe move on to something else? It's okay to treat things as experiments and be willing to say that didn't work. I'm gonna set it down even for now or for the foreseeable future. It's okay to do that. If you think it's not going to make a difference anymore, but also equally, if you just started something and you're not really seeing much of an impact just yet, also don't be afraid to stick with that for a period of time and give it a chance, give it a shot, and see if it makes a difference over time. The second thing that I think it's really important to do then is to think about the year ahead. So think about 2026. And if there are three things that I think that I'm going to really focus on in 2026, it's this. So I'm going to focus on audience growth next year. I'm going to focus on income generation. I'm going to focus on personal brand development. And I think those are three things that you can also really focus on as well. I know that they seem like kind of vague, overarching topics and areas to focus on. But I'm going to break down now what that's going to look like, maybe for me, and maybe what it could look like for you as well, going into next year. And I do think these are three really key things, particularly on Substack, for us to focus on as writers and creators. So, audience growth, first of all, why is audience growth important? Well, I think that for a start, let me just have a caveat here right at the beginning by saying that if your audience is small and you're growing slowly, that's totally okay. Don't think that I'm saying you have to have a huge audience in order to succeed on Substack or anywhere online. You can do a lot with a small audience and you can grow gradually at a pace that suits you. But I do think it's important that your audience is trending upwards, even if it's just very, very gradually. I think you should definitely be um, really examining what's going on if your audience isn't growing or if it's just declining all the time. So um I think it's just a sign of good health. I think if your audience is growing, if it's getting bigger, if more people are coming into your sphere of influence, it means that the things that you're doing are working and there are things you can continue doing or you can develop over time. And if that isn't happening, if your audience is shrinking or if it's just kind of stagnating and staying the same, I think you should look at different things you can do to maybe to change that negative trend. So I'm going to give you three things that I think you can try in 2026. Three things that I'm definitely going to try do more of as well. And you can join me in those things and see if they work for you. So the first thing that you can do, I'm not going to give you just the basic like write more notes or do more recommendations on Substack or that sort of thing, which those are things that do make a difference, but I want to try giving you something different. The first thing I'm going to suggest is do more collaborations on Substack and more cross promotion. So partner with other Substack writers for joint newsletters or shout outs or offers that you're running or competitions or whatever. Just work with more people for things because this helps you tap into each other's audiences. So if you can write a guest post for somebody else, someone else can write a guest post for your publication. If you can do live sessions, if you can go on each other's podcasts, whatever, try and work with other writers in your niche or in your category on Substack as much as you can rather than work against them. Because you've heard this phrase before, I've used it as well. A rising tide lifts all boats and lifts all ships. So I think that's something that we can do together. We can definitely work with other people rather than against them because honestly, it's the fastest way to reach other potential subscribers on the platform that maybe you're not reaching organically through things like notes and recommendations. So definitely, I'm gonna definitely collaborate as much as I can in 2026 with other people. I'm definitely gonna cross promote their work. I do that a lot already, but I'm gonna do more of it in 2026, and it's something you can definitely do more of as well going into next year and find ways to work with other people rather than against them. Second thing in terms of audience growth is do more interactive engagement. And something again I'm going to do more of. So I'm going to host more Substack live sessions. I do them on a weekly basis anyway, with my office hour sessions, and they're open-ended Q&As. But I'm going to try and do more of that kind of stuff to make my community feel involved in what I'm doing. And it's something you can do as well. I think for me, that's also going to look like doing more webinars and masterclasses. So I'm going to try and do those on a regular basis throughout the year. All being well, you're definitely going to see me pop up a lot more on Substack and in your email inbox, offering you uh, like hour-long webinar sessions where I'm going to talk about a certain topic and give you some insights and tips about those kind of things. So I think doing stuff live is definitely a great way to go going into next year. I think it's something that AI can replicate, but it's definitely not able to replicate it in the same way that you can. It can't do it to the same uh, expertise level that you can. So I think if you can do as much live stuff as you can, don't be afraid of Substack Lives. Just go on with a friend, have a conversation about something. Do the same with podcasts, but put yourself out there and put yourself in those uh, slightly higher pressure situations because honestly whenever you're having those organic, candid conversations with somebody else, or even just to your audience directly in a live situation, it definitely draws out the best of your thinking. It definitely helps you uncover things maybe you hadn't really thought about much before. So do more live stuff. I'm going to do more of that in 2026. And thirdly, for audience growth, I'm definitely going to experiment more with different formats and different structures for articles and the way I present articles. At the minute, I would usually tend to do a free post each week, a paid post each week. I'm doing a roundup, which is going to change, and I'll do a podcast episode. So that is definitely going to alter in 2026 a little bit. I'm going to experiment with the length of my articles, the structure of how I put them together. I'm going to try and run more like monthly challenges throughout the year and do special themed editions, do more series on certain topics. So experiment with the length of series, the kind of series I can focus on. So how many articles do I want to do in that series? What's that series going to wrap up with? Is it going to be a webinar at the end of it? That kind of thing. So the format of how I do things is definitely going to change in 2026. And it's something that you can definitely do as well very, very easily on Substack. Just take a look at what's working. If your articles aren't getting as much engagement as you would like, can you change the style of your article? Can you change where you put your calls to action? Can you group things together in a series? Can you make that series longer or shorter? Can you bookend it nicely with something like a bit of live stuff at the start and the end of those series? So, in terms of audience growth, think about collaborating more in 2026. Think about doing more live interactive engagement with your audience, and think about experimenting with the formats of your articles and your series and things like that. That's stuff I'm definitely going to do. I'm going to focus on that in 2026. And I think it's something you can definitely focus on as well. It's very easy to experiment with that. And hopefully you'll see some real audience growth over the course of time by trying that on Substack next year. Second thing to focus on in 2026 is income generation. So how are you generating income through Substack or through your writing in general? And there's lots of different ways and we can do this. We talked about these kind of things in the past. I've written articles and series about this. I've recorded podcast episodes. I've done lives about income generation through writing. But let me give you a few things that you can maybe try that I'm also going to try in 2026. So, um, think about how you can go, first of all, beyond just paid subscriptions. Paid subscriptions are obviously great. Substack makes that really, really easy as well on the platform. But can you do other things to generate income that maybe supplement those paid subscriptions? Because it's often hard to get paid subscribers, and believe it or not, it's also hard to keep them sometimes as well. People drop in and out of your paid tier. Maybe they don't renew for whatever reason, whenever they've been on for a year. So it's a good idea to think of things you can do to supplement that, so you can essentially monetize your free content as well. Give people options within your free content to support you financially too. So think about offering exclusive digital products like guides, templates, or mini courses that only maybe paid subscribers can get, but also offer those on a paid basis as well within your free content. So can you include a link to a Gumroad product within a free article on Substack, or can you offer a free digital product, but it's only available to paid subscribers? So think about that, experiment with that, see what you can do in terms of creating the digital products to supplement your free stuff, and then to also increase the value of your paid content as well, and your paid membership. Think as well about sponsorships and partnerships with other brands that align with your niche and that you think your audience would benefit from. Even small sponsorships sort of scattered throughout the year can add up into a significant income stream to supplement the other things that you're doing. So, are there brands out there that you use on a regular basis? Other products that you use that you really, really like that your audience would also benefit from as well? Can you reach out to those brands on LinkedIn, for instance, or just directly to their websites? Maybe start a conversation and just say, "Hey, would you be interested in sponsoring a few articles on Substack, or sponsoring my podcast, or my YouTube channel?" And just see what happens. It might be something really, really small, but if you can get your foot in the door with one or two brands, then maybe other brands in the future might be like, "Hang on, they did this for those guys. I wonder what their costs are, what their packages are that they offer." And then you might get brands reaching out to you organically. So, and maybe even just as you start 2026 in the first quarter, identify three or four brands that you really, really like, that you think your audience will like as well, and just approach them a couple of times and just see if you can get any kind of conversations going with those guys. And the third thing you can maybe try doing, and again, I've started doing this myself, I'm going to do a lot more of it in 2026, but offer coaching or consulting services for other people on Substack, or beyond that. So offer one-to-one sessions or small group coaching for readers who want that personalized help that only you can offer. It's a great way to add value and earn a bit of extra income on top of the other things that you're already doing. And obviously, those can be your bigger ticket items as well. If you're going to work on a one-to-one basis and really help people directly with the things that they're going through, you can definitely charge a little bit more for that, because it's a lot of your time, it's a lot of your expertise, and it's transformative for those people. So think about those as your bigger ticket items, and how you might package that, and what kind of value you can offer people on a one-to-one basis that again only you can provide. You might think that you don't have anything to offer, but genuinely there's probably so much that you've learned over the years. The fact you're maybe on Substack with the publication already takes you already miles beyond where somebody else is. So can you help somebody else walk through those processes as well, and learn how to do the things that you've done? Can you offer that as a coaching package for people who are coming into your audience? And a quick sidebar here, if you're interested in working with me on a one-to-one basis, you can definitely reach out at any point. I won't always be open to it. I won't always be available, because I might have other clients that I'm working with at the time. But if you are interested in working with me on a one-to-one basis, if you are interested in having that direct support, and seeing how I can maybe help you, then definitely feel free to send me an email or a direct message at any point, and we can certainly chat about it. And a third thing I'm definitely going to focus on a lot more in 2026, and I think you should definitely focus on as well, is your personal brand development. And you might groan at that and think, "Oh, David, I don't want to talk about my personal brand. That's some wishy-washy, airy-fairy stuff that I can't really quantify with numbers directly." But I really do think this is something that every writer needs to definitely give a lot of consideration to going forward. I think you need to learn how to define your voice first of all. Really hone in on what makes you and your writing style unique and your perspective unique, and let that shine through consistently in the things that you write and that you create on Substack and any platform that you're on. Um, the best way to do that is to simply to write a lot, to talk a lot. Even if you're talking to yourself, if you're talking to ChatGPT, for instance, and just bouncing some stuff off that. And I do that myself. I definitely turn on the voice function on ChatGPT and just talk for a while about the things I'm thinking about in terms of content creation or writing or whatever. And then just get it to analyze what I'm up to and get it to analyze what I'm working on, and then give me some feedback on it, maybe help me work out some offers I can create for my audience as well to help them. But the best way to do that is just to spend time at your keyboard, time in front of your microphone or in front of your camera, and really just get comfortable with talking, get comfortable with working out and working through the things that you're interested in that you think you can help other people with as well. The better you can define that, the better that will shine through, and the more clearly that will shine through in your content. And secondly, it's important to be consistent. I know that consistency is such a buzzword, but um, showing up regularly for your audience whenever they expect you to be there, like their favorite TV show, which is an analogy I use all the time. But it's so true, and it's so effective if you show up on a regular basis and with your own unique angle on things. People will come to recognize you. They'll come to feel comfortable with you and be familiar with you, and they'll trust you as a brand. You are a brand, and you might not want to think that way, but the way you present yourself online is as a brand, and you will do things in a certain way. Your natural quirks, the way you speak, the way you move, the way you think about things, your own perspective and stuff, is all part of your brand. The way you present yourself, the way you look on camera, the way you sound, it's all part of a brand that you're maybe unconsciously building with your audience. So think about that. Think about showing up consistently and trying to hone in, zero in on the things that your audience like about you, the things that they definitely respond to, and do more of that and see how you can refine it more, as much as you can. So define your voice, be consistent. And thirdly, in terms of your personal brand, tell personal stories. I say this all the time, and I'm gonna really, really, really dig down in this myself in 2026. But please, please, please share a bit of your own journey or your behind the scenes insights. It makes you more relatable, it makes you more memorable, and it just solidifies the fact that you are a human being. So tell personal stories about the things that you're struggling with, about the things you have learned along the way. You might think a really mundane story about how you went to the shop to buy something. No one's going to be interested in that, but someone out there is going to relate to that exact thing, that exact sentiment. And it could honestly be the thing that tips someone over the edge to want to reach out to you to do one-to-one coaching, which could be your big tick item, or to subscribe to your paid tier, or just to reply to you in an email and tell you that they really like that story that you shared and resonate with them. That kind of email could be something that really boosts your confidence and really encourages you to keep going, maybe at a time whenever you feel like you wanted to give up. So um please tell personal stories in 2026. I am going to do so much more of that in a live basis on camera, just through my writing. I'm sorry if you don't want to hear those personal stories about me, but you're going to next year, and I definitely recommend that you should at least try it. I know it's scary to be vulnerable. It's scary to share those things about yourself with total strangers a lot of the time online, but honestly, it is such a powerful, visceral connector, a trust builder, and a way for people to relate to you and remember you. So definitely try more of that next year. So those are three overarching topics, three overarching things I'm going to focus on myself in 2026: audience growth, income generation, and personal brand development. And I do think there are three things that you should also focus on next year. And I've given you some ways throughout the course of this episode and this video, if you're watching on YouTube, that you can definitely try next year, and you can rewind and listen back to this as well. I just want to say as well, please enjoy the journey on Substack and as a creator, and whatever it is you're doing. So um look back on 2025, reflect on it, um reflect on the things that were good, reflect on the things that were bad. What can you cut out? What can you do more of that's working well? But enjoy it. Enjoy the process. It shouldn't be a chore. It shouldn't be something that you don't want to do. If you really are interested in building a solopreneur, creator, writer lifestyle where you can do things at your own pace when you want to do them. Like me right now, recording a podcast episode on a Friday morning in our guest bedroom. You can definitely do that kind of thing as well. And just you have to work towards it. It takes time to develop that. But if it's something that you want, if you want that freedom, if you want to build your own thing, if you want to have a blue sky above you in terms of how much income you can generate, if you want to be creative, if you want to try new things, um, just do it and enjoy the process and step into 2026 with those big topics in mind, those big areas of focus, building your audience, growing your income, and developing your personal brand. Focus on those three big things and the other things that are connected to it. And I almost guarantee if you stick to those things, you're consistent, and you really zero in on them, you will start to see really good results next year off the back of 2025. But keep it simple, keep it fun, and keep it focused, and you definitely see things start to happen. Again, make sure to subscribe to the channel on YouTube. If you haven't done that already, subscribe for my podcast, leave a review for the podcast as well, because I love to just hear that it's actually helping people. If you've listened for a while, it's your first episode, and you find it's useful in any capacity, please leave a review for it. If you can, make sure to subscribe to me on Substack as well. And again, if you are interested in working with me on a one-to-one basis, you can do that by becoming a VIP member on Substack if you want to do a couple of calls with me, and get a publication audit and a strategy guide as part of that. You can definitely upgrade to that. Or if you want to work with me more closely, if you feel like you're ready to take that bigger step and work with me throughout the year on a one-to-one basis, over Zoom like this, where I will work with you directly to help you develop your personal brand, work through growing your audience and generating more income, then you can reach out to me via email or via message or wherever you maybe connected with me before, or even response to this email whenever it lands in your inbox. So I'd love to work with you one-to-one if I'm open at the time, and you can definitely join a wait list if I'm not open at that moment. But definitely reach out and let me know you're interested if you are. So hope you enjoyed this today. Thanks for sticking with me on this very, very candid, pretty much unscripted podcast episode. I don't really script anything actually for the most part, so this is definitely the way things are going to be with me going forward anyway. I'm definitely gonna have more guests on in 2026 as well. But yeah, thanks for being with me here today. Hope you enjoy the last few weeks of 2025. Hope 2025 was a good year for you. And I hope that 2026 can be even better. And I'm going to be here to walk with you through that journey as well on this podcast or on YouTube or on Substack. So thanks for being here. Have a great day, and I'll see you real soon. Bye bye.